Stalker is actually getting a sequel, and it's got a targeted window for release and everything. So if you're jumping to this video curious what Stalker is like because you've never played it before, don't worry. I'm gonna give you the Stalker experience in under 30 seconds. I'm both excited and surprised that Stalker is actually, for real, no joke, getting a proper sequel. Exciting because fans of this cult classic have been wanting a sequel for near on 15 years now, and surprised because rumors of a sequel being in development have been circulating for nearly as long. While the game sold respectfully during its launch time, the bugs were numerous and the difficulty of this game is, well, for the uninitiated. Bro? Excuse me, bro? Oh, wow, never mind. I've heard people describe Stalker as hardcore Fallout before, and I guess I can see where they're coming from, but it's more like if Fallout was having an affair with your wife and you walked in on them. But instead of stopping, Fallout gets up, pauses what he's doing, walks over to you, and punches you in the face. Following that, he hands you a camera and says to start filming before going back and finishing the job he started. And then you do what he says because, ow, that hurt. The only thing Fallout and Stalker really have in common is a post-nuclear apocalypse where people are equally willing to murder you as they are to help you. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, the game we'll be covering today, is a first-person action RPG of sorts, with most of its focus being on the action and its unforgiving, foreboding, hostile, and downright cruel world that'll do everything in its power to kill you. You need look no further than the difficulty selection for this game to see your example. See, in most games, when you're picking a difficulty, easy usually means that, well, it's gonna be easier. Enemies go down faster, maybe the AI isn't as intelligent as it once was, and you could probably tank way more hits than you normally would on, say, normal, hard, or higher. In Stalker, though, you should be choosing the highest difficulty, master difficulty, from the very start. Enemies aren't any dumber or smarter on easy or hard, nor do they go down any easier on easy. In fact, choosing easy makes all the enemy AI Kryptonian half-breeds. Bullets are mere inconveniences and they go bouncing off of their bodies for long after you've emptied that first clip into them. And sure, maybe you are a Kryptonian half-breed as well on easy, able to absorb many a bullet. But there's only one of you. Hello? Hello? There's noise from all angles. All angles? Whoop. You're still alive? That's unfortunate. You guys have such good aim! Now in harder modes, you might be much more fragile, but so too will the enemy. Their AI doesn't change between difficulties, so their tactics will remain the same. Just take it slow and pace yourself. You're smarter than an AI from 2007, right? If this is your first time playing Stalker, you might think to yourself, well, at least I now know that. I'm ready for a tough but fair journey through an angrier, meaner Fallout. Well, good for you, partner. Let's just keep going then, shall we? See, the intro area to most games is usually pretty straightforward, isn't it? A few enemies, maybe a couple of platforming or puzzles to sort through, generally giving you a simple obstacle course to teach you the ropes of the game's mechanics and to give you a taste for its world and atmosphere. Well, Stalker's world fucking sucks. And while you are a character with a story, this is not a character-driven story. It's a semi-sandbox first-person shooter RPG light that reminds you any chance it gets that you are nothing special, and it does so arguably most effectively right at the very start of a video game where you're tasked with helping take out a small, group of bandits. And these bandits are armed, they outnumber you, and they have the advantage of owning an entire building to themselves. So what do you get to fend them off and fight them away? A pistol, whose accuracy is like trying to aim a fire hose by its base and damage like that of a baby flinging its shit at you. Yes, it's emotionally painful that he dared do that, but at the end of the day, you'll wipe the shit off of you and you'll be fine. And this is a light RPG, which means your character has no stats to speak of. Every meaningful number is on your gear and your weapons. Power is literally determined by what's between your hands and nothing more. The only thing that carries me through this bit is that I have a few AI buddies who are also here to take care of the situation, and they are going to Leroy Jenkins themselves right at the building. And I, the tactical radiation hobo that I am, will flank around, kill one of them with the better gun, quickly take it, then hopefully, maybe, with luck and a little prayer, take them out before they kill every other Stalker ally I have. Because no NPC is precious in this game either. Every one of them can die, even if they have a quest attached to them. Because this world fucking sucks. And I'm dead. And I am here for it. So if I haven't lost you at this point, then you probably own the game already, if we're honest. But if you haven't played, and all the above somehow caught your interest like a moth to a bug zapper, sit down, buckle up, I think you're gonna love the rest. Stalker is set in The Zone, a post-nuclear fallout mix of the Chernobyl disaster zone and a book by the name of Roadside Picnic. Except in this world, they attempted to repopulate the disaster zone only to have another nuclear disaster hit the area in 2006 and mutate nearly everyone there while breaking reality and physics. Another point for world governments. Now, on top of horrifying superpowered mutants, you also have to avoid anomalies. These are invisible ripples in reality that'll incinerate you, electrocute you, or simply just cause you to explode from the inside out. And you are a stalker, a lone wanderer entering the zone for riches and fame. You in particular have lost your memory with only one name on your PDA, Strelok, and you supposedly need to kill him. That's your setup to go out and engage with the world. And why would you might wonder? See, the second disaster also warped objects along with, reality, physics, and known modern science, giving them unique, powerful properties, which are then called artifacts. You can equip up to 5 of them on yourself, which changes things from electricity resistance to more health, or being able to be a bigger pack rat. But most of them come with downsides as well, including increased vulnerability to everything I said above. So you can mix and match each artifact wisely to fit your particular playstyle. The rest, you sell them for a whole lot of money. And that's what stalkers are there for. And you are far from the only one. Other stalkers, bandits, military, scientists, and other factions all inhabit the zone on top of the horrifying mutants out there. And they all are out there to serve their own purpose. And if you stand in the way of their glorious purpose, then you, too, are an enemy. However, if you are an enemy of one faction, then there's a good chance you've made good with another. And if you see them out in the wild, you'll get that appropriate response from each faction. Maybe you see 2 factions who hate you both gunning each other down on your trek through the nuclear waste. Do you jump in to help one side, gun both sides, ignore them and move on, or wait until the fight plays out and then pick the remains off the corpses after the survivors get away? Each choice is viable and each choice could affect the world around you. No 2 games of Stalker are truly ever quite the same. Stalker was a very ambitious game for being a game made by a small team in 2007, and in doing so they wanted a simulated world to make it just that much more ambitious. Factions can and often will fight each other for territory, and as you play, certain factions might kill others, take positions on the map, and interact with each other. Characters and other stalkers wander the wastes daily and are always at risk as you play. Which means while you're out doing a quest for someone and while you're away, they might be assaulted and killed. Then the quest ends and tough luck. Maybe next time you play, you'll get that one done. But it also means you'll run across camps and are able to chat and interact with them as you wander. Some will have tips to hidden treasures, others will trade goods with you, while others will simply tell you to shove off. And I love it. Even as primitive of a simulation as it may be for being as old as it is, it still goes a long way to creating a world that feels oppressive and alive. In a lot of ways, Stalker is an early form of a survival game that dominates the Steam Early Access days today. And in order to pull something like this off back in 07, the developers had to create their very own engine. And thus, the X-Ray engine was born. Ugh. Oh yeah, this thing is shaky. I feel like if I even look at this thing the wrong way or too quickly, the whole thing is just gonna come crumbling down. Even almost 15 years after this thing's release, this game has glitches, breaks, and crashes often. On launch, the thing was a broken mess. For the sake of this video, I played through purely vanilla, no mods, but I would highly suggest if you end up picking this game up to grab one of the many community mods or patches for this game. Plenty out there just patch up the really bad bugs, but if you're into modding or this is your 1000th playthrough of Stalker and you want to play some new way, there are entire overhaul mods that stitch together all 3 Stalker games, all the maps, and create a simulated world for you to exist in, on top of countless others out there that simply tweak the game to completely changing it. And the community is still at it, grinding away and creating new stuff. It's really awesome and really fun. But if you're gonna play vanilla, this is your warning. The X-Ray engine is super broken. So, an FPS RPG with simulation aspects but no character stats. The combat better be real good then if there's not gonna be any RPG aspects in something that's labeled an RPG of sorts. And I'm happy to report it really is mostly. Each gun feels appropriately weighty and lethal while looking like they could break or jam at any time. A bullet to the head will in fact kill anyone it happens to hit, but the same goes for you. Run and gunning is frowned upon, but sneaking is an option with an indicator on your hub to see how visible you are. Each quest will have you exploring different areas of the zone, usually a good long distance away from your mission start point, and each journey will require you to make sure that your loadout is appropriate. Inventory management is huge in this game, and it is grid-based, and carrying anything over 50 kilograms will bring you problems. Bring too much shit and you'll be weighed down, move slower and lose your stamina at a quicker pace, but bring too little and you might end up in a corner with a bleeding wound and nothing to heal it, watching as your inevitable doom creeps up on you like an ex from years ago, only to die quietly and alone. Luckily, dying is usually your own fault. Stalker is not a run and gun shooter, and it rewards patience and smart tactical maneuvering. With the guns as chunky and deadly as they are, either you take it slow or you get put in the ground. Which reminds me, chunky gun sounds. The visuals in this game are pretty good actually. Let's just get that out of the way, especially for the era and the small team that worked on it. But the sound design in this game is where everything shines, and it is delicious. The weather and nature effects are perfectly drab and dreary, and the gun sounds are excellent. The little pings and beeps of your old-timey technology, it's all just so wonderful and pulls you into the world. Hell, the world itself drags you kicking and screaming, sometimes literally, into its immersion. Just take a minute and enjoy the sounds of the wastes. So what is the game loop while you play then? Well, it's honestly really straightforward. You have the main quest you can do, which is pretty good, with multiple endings and a true ending that I don't want to spoil for those who may not have played, as well as a ton of side quests with different people and factions, usually culminating in a reward of a new gun, cash, or some other item to help keep you alive just a little longer. And honestly, they're all right. Nothing really jumped out and grabbed me with its story while I played, and beyond the main story, I can't really remember many impactful side quests. The other issue is a lot of the side quests are timed. I know some people like that, but I'm just not one of them. There's a day-night cycle in the game and loads of side quests put you on a timer. For me, that meant most of them got ignored, as I'm the kind of player to take my time and really explore every zone that I'm in. It didn't seem to matter much in the end though, so that's a good thing I guess. The game also has loads of hidden stashes around the maps too, many of which you'll stumble across if you start exploring off the beaten path. The problem is, and maybe they fix it in the sequels or maybe there's a community patch, but the stashes themselves will hold 0 items for you to find until You find the person or corpse who quote unquote knew where that stash was, and then your map will get updated with the stash's location. When you go back to it, the stash will then have spawned all the items, guns, ammo, or just extra cash that was supposed to be in it when you found it. It's a really weird thing to do in a game that seems to embrace how open it can be, and it really desensitizes heavy exploration after a while. The stashes should always have the items in them regardless if I found it before finding the person who supposedly owned it. Additionally, the end of the game kinda sucks. It gives me really big Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines flashbacks. The whole game lavishes itself in its world, creatures, people, and creepy exploration until the very end, where you're shoved into narrow corridors and forced to fight heaps and heaps of military assholes with really powerful weapons. It feels like they ran out of time or money, maybe both, and needed to wrap up the game as quickly as possible. Why developers tend to resort to hallway fights when out of time or money is beyond me, but it seems to be a very common thing among them. Honestly, I'm half tempted to recommend just looking up the endings once you get to that part of the game if you find it exceptionally awful, difficult, or boring. I would not blame you. I got real close. But at the end of the day, none of that really stops this kind of gem in the rough. Stalker is good, really good. The moment-to-moment gameplay is tense, atmospheric, and sometimes straight up scary. The underlying simulation, the gunplay, deadliness of its world, and the survival mechanics all come together in a shaky, buggy package to really bring a unique experience that still isn't quite replicated to this day. And it's pretty dang replayable, especially if you want to include the modding scene. And if you've played plenty and are looking for a reason to boot it up again, consider this the sign from the zone that it's calling you back all over again.